Lovely. All right. This, without any further ado, means we're live, and a whole 14 of you are here. How did you get here so fast? And who liked the video already? After being live for just a few seconds, outstanding. Whoops, got to turn that volume down. Or just keep it off. Hello, everybody. Thank you for two things. Thank you for showing up, and how the hell did you show up so fast? I don't know. I guess you were on YouTube and something lit up, your bell icon lit up, or something like that. I don't know. But the important thing is that you're here, and I can see the chat. A lot of, oh, yes, notification squad. Hello, hi. I love you too. Zoinks. No lives. Don't know what that means. Ha. Let's see. Counter Arguments is the best YouTube channel. Change my mind. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. This, like every other live stream. Quick question before I forget. Hey, all you in the chat, could you just let me know if this sounds all right? Because fun fact, this is the first time that this microphone has been used in a stream. So, hey, somebody just subbed an hour ago. Amazing. Just you. Somebody does the super duper SP. Good, says good job with the mini series. Thank you very much. Can somebody let me know if the audio quality sounds all right? Sounds good. There's not a lot of popping. It doesn't sound distorted. Sounds all right. Sounds amazing. Someone says they can't hear anything. Okay, I'm going to assume you're kidding. Sounds a little echoey. Uh-oh. Well, hopefully that's not a problem on your end. Sounds good to me. We can hear you perfectly. It sounds nice. Good. It's really important that that's known, because if it didn't sound good and we just plowed on for 2 hours with it sounding crappy. Someone says it's sort of bad. Come on, don't kid about that stuff. I really want to know if it sounds okay. Someone says no echoes. Thank you very much. Whoever said there was an echo, screw you. Salty Pickle asks, is anime gay? I don't know. I can't think of anything funny to say in response, so I guess you win. John Foster says, sounds good. Where is face cam, though? There isn't one. It's just a microphone. But thank you for asking all the same. Well, as I was saying a minute or so ago, as with every other live stream that it's ever done on this channel, this was not scheduled. There was no heads up. If you just so happen to have caught it, you just so happen to have caught it. It's going to last for at least an hour, at least. Probably not more than 2, but we'll see. And though you can ask any sort of questions you want, just to lay down a couple of ground rules, anyone who asks or says anything in the super chat will get a response. Otherwise, I certainly can't guarantee a response, because there's just so many people in the chat right now. There's 400 people here now. Wonderful. But if you ask or say something in the super chat, you will get a response for sure. I don't have a spotless track record in the past. I have missed a few. So if that happens, please, hopefully somebody lets me know, and hopefully I notice. And we can talk about anything that you would like. But this is following the 12 Angry Men series. This is coming a week after the 5th and final episode was published on the channel. And so while we can, of course, discuss anything you'd like that relates to the channel, I expected to see, and I hope to see, that most of what we have to discuss has to do with that series. Not just it, but what it was about. And the film, the 1957 film itself. If that is cool with you, if that interests you, if you're in the mood for that. 400 Angry Men. So, with that having been established, one more time, the audio quality sounds all right, everybody. I hope it does. Just one last check. With that having been established, I'll keep my eye on the chat just to see if anything jumps out at me. Of course, if anybody does say anything in the super chat, they will grab my attention immediately. So let's see what we have here. And thank you, in case I forgot to say that already. Thank you for not just for subscribing, but for I can't really thank you for the coincidence of just catching this stream, but thank you for subscribing and thank you for tuning into this stream. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's worth your time. Okay, we have Ultralight, who asks, do you read web comics? And if so, which WITCH ones do you read? If I can just be a bit of a grammar Nazi, that was WHICH. The answer is no. So there is no answer to the second question. I don't read webcomics. I don't know why you're asking. I don't disapprove of you asking, but the answer is no. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you for everyone who's saying that the audio quality sounds good. Thank you. Again, I said it already, but I'll say it again. This is the first time that this microphone is being used in a stream. And the 12 Angry Men series was the first time this microphone was used at all. And it sounded good. It sounded good when those videos were being made. But of course, when it comes to a live stream, I can't play it back, or else it'll just produce a terrible echoing effect. But something like that. So let's not do that. Okay, here we have a comment from or by one of those is right. Nabel, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Nabel Mansour. And he says, what do you think was bad logically in 12 Angry Men? I hadn't noticed. This is not the first time I've seen the abbreviated version of the film, of the title of the film. But someone commented on one of the videos referring to it as 12 a.m. I never noticed that before. The abbreviated version is 12 a.m. Well, the question is, what do you think was bad logically in 12 Angry Men? Well, that's a good question. I suppose you could say that some of the protagonist, juror number 8, some of his very first arguments were not very impressive. You could say that they were appeals to emotion. I think the first thing he says, which could even pass for an argument, would be citing the fact that the defendant is 18 years old. And that's not necessarily relevant at all. And number 3 challenges that by simply saying, well, that's old enough. And that's not the best way to challenge it, but it's one way to challenge it. Citing the fact that the defendant is young is really not a good argument in favor of finding him not guilty. And then he goes on to cite how juror number 8 goes on to cite how he was abused by his father. He's had an unhappy existence. And none of these are good reasons to find him to arrive at a verdict of not guilty. So some of number 8's first few arguments, where he's expressing where his mind is at, are really not impressive. They're certainly not logical. Of course, if there was anything else, and if of course there are other things illogical that happened in that film, but if you could cite only anything else, one other thing that was illogical or bad logic in 12 Angry Men, it would be the soft but increasingly harder and harder bigotry of juror number 10. He resorted to prejudice. He just obviously that was not logical. It's not logical to just assume somebody is guilty because of their background. That was a really good question. Nabil, however you say that. That's such a good question. We could go on and on and on and on and on, but hopefully those few examples are good enough. Here's a question from Harry Longbottom. Which juror is your favorite? Well, it seems like you shouldn't answer a question like that by saying number 8 because he's the main character. It's kind of hard for him to not be your favorite because he does set the grand example. He's the one who changes the verdict. So you want to think anyone who watches that film would like to think that they could do that. So that might result in him being your favorite. But other jurors that I personally liked, I liked number 2, but I didn't really respect him. I didn't like his passiveness. I just liked how he was a nice person. Number 6 I admire for many of the reasons that were cited in the 5th episode. Why We Change Our Minds. I like number 1 as well, but not for any real reason. I just just kind of like the guy. Well, number 4. I guess number 4 is one of the. He's probably one of the most admirable jurors. Number 4, aside him and number 8 are probably the most respectable gentlemen in the jury. Here's a question from Lincolning. Here's $2. Now tell everyone to go watch 12 a.m. You got it. Although I don't think I need to. If anybody is in this live stream who has never heard of the film 12 Angry Men, if you're subscribed to this channel and you missed the last 5 videos that were uploaded, you have not heard of 12 Angry Men. Or if you have heard of it and you watched the entire series and you still haven't seen the film, do whatever you need to do to see it. It's one of the greatest films of all time. And if you do watch the series, you'll be given plenty of reasons as to why it is such a great film. So there you go, Lincolning. Here's a question from Nicholas Zacharias. In 12 Angry Men, he says, in 12 Angry Men, they didn't have the luxury of agreeing to disagree. Indeed. IRL, the luxury of debating often isn't afforded. That's a really good point, Nicholas. What's a good way? So he asks, what's a good way to gain this luxury? Well, wait, you mean what's a good way of gaining the lack of that luxury? I think is what you meant to say, because the jurors do not have the luxury of agreeing to disagree. And to answer that question, the answer to the question I think you were asking, that doesn't seem possible. The circumstance of having to agree, having to arrive at a unanimous consensus, that's virtually exclusive to juries. There are very few, if any, other circumstances in life in which you have to arrive at a unanimous agreement, which is why a jury was such a fantastic setting for a movie like 12 Angry Men. But outside of that, I really don't know. Virtually any debate you ever have in your life, you're not going to have to establish unanimous agreement. And what does that mean? Well, among other things, it means that if you have an argument with somebody and you don't change their mind and they don't change your mind, you just have to just shake their hand and tip your hat and say, well, it was still worth having it. Have a nice day. Yeah, other than juries, I don't know what else would require unanimous agreement like that. King Wilson says, do you think... excuse me for clearing my throat. I have got some water here for all the good that's doing. King Wilson says, or asks, do you think that the film or the live TV series of 12 Angry Men had more argumentative value? He goes on to say, I heard from a friend that the live TV show in 54 had more to learn from. I would like to know your thoughts on this. Well, thank you very much for asking that question, King. I have not seen the entire original television broadcast version. Not the entire thing. I've seen pieces of it. I jumped around and watched segments of it, but I haven't seen it in its entirety. I always assumed the script was exactly the same. It probably isn't. Unfortunately, I just can't really answer that question because I haven't seen the original 54 television broadcast in its entirety. So I'm sorry to let you down on that question. If that's true, if the original broadcast had more argumentative value, well, it's probably fair to say that's just a matter of opinion. But hey, if it's a matter of fact, then we should recommend it, even though it's not as pleasant to watch. Suffice it to say, the original television broadcast was not directed by Sidney Lumet. So it's probably not as much fun to watch. But by all means, if you have the time and you don't mind watching a grainy version, an hour and a half long television broadcast from the 50s, go for it. I recommend it for myself. I'd like to see it someday. Max Hanf says, what's up, my guy? Don't have a lot of time to spare, but just wanted to let you know that things have improved in Sweden since last time. Keep it up. That's great to hear, Max. For those who don't know, the last stream that was done on this channel, Max here was commentating on the state of politics in Sweden. And apparently they weren't that good, but now they're better. Thank you, Max. Glad to hear it. Daniel Seeley? Everyone's got funny names. Everybody. Daniel says, loved your 12 Angry Men series. Love them all. Thank you, Daniel. I'm very glad that you enjoyed it. What was the impetus for the series? and the use of the movie. Now, this is one of those. I have heard that word before, impetus, but just to be sure, I just want to look it up. Impetus, the force or energy with which a body moves. Maybe that's not what you meant. The force that makes something happen or happen more quickly. That's a good question, Daniel. And to answer it, I'm going to keep apologizing for clearing my throat. The impetus for the series was, the idea had been around for a while. I think it was in early or mid 2018, maybe even earlier than that I got the idea to make one video about 12 Angry Men, just a review of it as it related to argumentation. So that idea existed. However, once I got around to writing it, it just occurred to me that I would want to make multiple videos, and the idea to do a series is not original. Shane Dawson, I guess, just popped into my head while I was when I finally got down to writing it. I thought, you know what he does works, and what I'm doing seems to would work out better for this. And it's never been done before on the channel, a series, but it just seemed like a natural, logical thing to do. Some of you may have already guessed that the inspiration to make this series about 12 Angry Men stemmed from this terrible realization I had at the end of the year that I wasn't proud of anything that was produced for the channel, that I single-handedly produced for the channel in 2018. So that 12 Angry Men was a way of getting away from the normal grind of the channel and just doing something, just sort of a palate cleanser. Thanks for that question, Daniel. Noah Prentice wants to know what your educational background is. Now, this happens every single time a stream is done on this channel, and it's going to happen again. Please, 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 please do not ask any personal questions. Please, because they are not going to be answered. It's not about me. But not to leave you empty-handed, Noah. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to answer personal questions. Okay, I'll just say this. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. How about that? I know that's a dodge, but at least it's better than nothing. Nabble, again, says, you killed my name. But you're right. You could probably make a vid on all the fallacies in that film. Regardless, thank you for the series. You're welcome, and thank you for putting up with my pronunciation of your name. Marty says, loved the 12 Angry Men series. Thank you, Marty. How can we adjust the takeaways when dealing with political tribalism, especially with single issue people? I'm not sure of how many people really are single issue voters. I don't know. I have no idea if that's true. To answer your question, how can we adjust the takeaways? I'm not sure I understand the question. How can we adjust the takeaways? That's a funny use of language. When dealing with political tribalism. Okay, if I understand your question correctly, you should be basically asking what we can do about it or to work around it. And that's tough. Whenever it comes down to arguing with somebody, you always have to leave yourself open to the possibility that it's futile. Some people are not open to a good argument. They're not. So, and when you recognize that you're having a conversation with somebody like that, you just have to recognize it. You shouldn't, and might not be what you want to hear, but you do have to give up. But with everybody else, political tribalism, like any other tribalism, ultimately comes down to the individual. And so I would recommend doing what number 8 did, which was getting to know the person you're talking to a little bit before you actually get the argument up and running, because then you might have a better idea of how to engage with them. I hope that helps. I'm lost. Where was I? Next question comes from Alan Tear. Oh, no, it doesn't. He just gave $5 and said nothing. Well, thanks, Alan. High five. Next up, Hobo Frodo. He asks, could you make a video on quote unquote steel manning and opposing argument and the value in doing so in a debate? Sure. To answer that question, yeah. I could. Will it happen? It's not likely. But of course it could. He goes on to say the Jordan Peterson versus Sam Harris debate utilized this, and it felt effective to the dialogue. Yeah, the debates between Peterson and Harris are very rewarding to watch, regardless of who you agree with, if either of them. Although I imagine it's a little bit more rewarding to watch if you do agree with one of them. Could we make a video on steel manning? Sure. I'm not sure. It wouldn't be a very long video, though. The idea of steel manning is that you challenge the best version of an argument. So what could be said beyond that? I'm not really sure, but that's certainly the least that could be said. And hey, I think that could be a very worthy video to make. It wouldn't fit in a series about logical fallacies, though, because it's the opposite. But who knows? Thanks for the recommendation. Now here's a question from Lucas. Your thoughts on the drug legalization debate? Well, the libertarian argument would be to legalize all drugs. The left, progressives, would like to see marijuana legalized. I guess the argument that would come from the right against legalizing drugs would be that they're not good for you, and it would result in society becoming a little more chaotic and broken down if they were legalized. But one of the most convincing, perhaps one of the most lucrative debates in the drug legalization debate comes from the legalizing side, and it relates to the drug war. If all drugs were legalized, then drug traffickers and drug lords and drug gangs would be out of business. Just as people who were making moonshine went out of business in 1933 when Prohibition ended. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for the question. King Wilson again. He says, I have another one for you. You bet you do. I bet you do. Whatever I meant to say. Did you start the 12 Angry Men series because of the video you made last year about being unhappy with the channel? Yes. That's not when the idea sprung into existence. As I've said earlier already, the idea I came up with the idea a lot earlier in the year, maybe even late 2017, but I think in 2018 is when I got the idea to someday, maybe, who knows, make one video about 12 Angry Men as it related to argumentation. And when I made that Dear Subscribers video, where I said all the things that I said in it, that was really a hell of a rut. And at that point, I just didn't feel like, I knew the channel needed to be redeemed, but I didn't feel like doing it with ordinary content. So that's when I just went back to that folder that was made for the idea to make a video on 12 Angry Men. And yeah, if it hadn't been for that giant bump in the road, if it hadn't been for that very unhappy realization, that series might have never been made. So yeah, I guess that qualifies as redemption, as something redeeming, doesn't it? Maybe it was worth it. Maybe it was worth making a year's worth of material that I'm not proud of, in order, if only so that the following year begins with the 12 Angry Men series. Who knows? Thanks for the question. Deco asks, will you compose another series like 12 Angry Men? Severely unlikely. The idea to make the 12 Angry Men series in the first place didn't stem from that idea didn't come from the desire to make a series about a movie. The idea came from the fact that I realized that there was a lot of argumentation in that movie. So it wasn't that I wanted to do a film review. It just dawned on me that a review of that movie would work well on this channel. So with that being said, I currently don't have any ideas of another movie that would be given the same treatment. And even if I did, or even if you did, let me put this question to you. Given everything that has already been said in the 12 Angry Men series, given everything that was analyzed, everything that was explained, everything that was demonstrated. What more could be accomplished in a second series? Even if it focused on another movie, what else could be accomplished? The purpose of the 12 Angry Men series was not just to focus on the film. It was to hopefully mine from it universal advice and universal strategies and maneuvers and ways of behaving that universally work. So now that it's been done, I don't know what else could be benefited from a series on another movie. I know you guys really like the series. I really like making it, but I don't see the utility in doing anything like that again. And even if I did, I don't know what I would make another series about. So that answers that question. Sorry if you guys were hoping for another series, but now that it is over, the channel will return back to its usual ordinary formats. The next question here comes from Alan Tier or Tear, who previously gave $5 and said nothing. Now he gives $5 and says, how much time goes into making one of your videos? And do you have any advice for others looking to make videos similar to yours? Well, let's answer the first question first. Actually, let's clear the throat first. Again. Good God. I really am sorry that I keep doing that. Okay, how much time goes into making one of your videos? It really does vary wildly, but it seems like on average, 5 minutes of video takes 5 to 7 days. Well, let's just, or I could put that another way. 1 minute takes 1 day on average. It does depend on, it does vary wildly depending on how much, what a video is about, what's required to make it. But on average, about 1 minute takes 1 day. If there was such a thing as an average, I think that's what it is. They're very labor intensive. And the second question he asks is, do you have any advice for others looking to make videos similar to yours? And the first piece of advice would be not to make them too similar. Do your own thing. Don't just copycat somebody. Not that I'll be insulted, but for your own sake, don't just copycat somebody. Hopefully you're just drawing inspiration. And the advice, well, I don't want to just say, oh, do it, because that's not advice. The advice would be to be constantly keep yourself open to revising whatever your style is and whatever your format is. And don't just, I know it's tempting if you start a channel with a particular design or a format, you want to just keep it the way it is for consistency's sake. That's how I was. But as with anything else, you're probably not going to be very good at it at first. So just be open to the possibility that your first few videos are going to suck and they're not going to look that great. And along the way, you'll discover better ways of making it look better and sounding better. And you'll get better at writing. And you'll eventually become annoyed with your original work. But that's okay. So that's my advice. Connor Compton. A small-ish question. So he says. We'll be the judge of that. Do you like people agreeing with you or disagreeing with you more? And in what context? You really thought that was a small question, Connor? Well, I'll try to give a small answer. To tell the truth, I'm so sorry. God, I didn't realize my throat was so scratchy when I started this. To tell the truth, Connor, I don't prefer. I don't have a preference. I don't wish that people would agree or disagree. To tell the perfect truth, I don't mind if someone disagrees with me. So I guess that would set me apart from people who hate that, who would wish that everybody did agree with them. If somebody disagrees with me, that's all right. You ask in what contexts, and that's a good addition to the question. There is a time and place. You don't want to get into a heated argument during Thanksgiving dinner, but if you're just you know just, just hanging out at a friend's house and you're with people and everyone's friendly and you're sitting on the couch and you just start talking about the president, yeah, you should be. I think as a rule, it'd be that's worth being open to disagreement with people. But to answer that, but your question, do you like people agreeing or disagreeing? I really don't, quote unquote, like either. I don't mind if someone does disagree. I'm not relieved if somebody does agrees. Good question though. Small, I don't know about that, but good. It was a good question. Here's something from Pocket Tap Topa 1234. Why didn't I just call you 1234? Is there, here's the question. Is there any hope for American discourse? Yes. And why? Because there is always hope. Always, always, always. Here's a question from Soon Enough. Here's the question. What should we be doing to further honest debate? Be honest. There you go. Is that a satisfactory answer? In case it isn't, I mean, honest to goodness, I would say lead by example. But if you want something more than that, it would be to very politely and diplomatically identify dishonest debate. You have to do it politely, because if you're a prick, no one's going to want to hear what you have to say, even if your criticisms have merit. But really, what should we do to further? What should we be doing to further honest debate? Lead by example. Be honest yourself. And that's easier said than done, I know, because sometimes not everybody makes a dishonest argument on purpose. Sometimes you just don't have all the information or a bias gets in the way. But my answer to that question is to just lead by example. Just try doing that yourself. Here's a question from Burton Films. The question is, yeah, that's not the question. That's just me clearing my goddamn throat again and again and again. Okay, now time for the question. What is your advice for younger content creators? Well, I'm not sure if I don't think my advice would be any different depending on the age of a content creator, but I'll still entertain the question. The advice for younger content creators? Well, this is going to sort of be a repeat of something I've already said, but what I would say, my advice would be to prepare yourself to be underwhelmed or disappointed or even annoyed with the content you're making right now next year or the year after that. Expect that to happen. In fact, I'd say hope that happens, because it means you're improving and you're getting better at your craft. If you produce a video now, today, and next year or the year after that, you're just as satisfied and happy with it, and you can't find anything within it that you'd want to improve, that's not good, because it means you're not growing and you're not improving your craft. If you make a video today and this time next year, you look back and you just cringe and wince and you go, oh God, I could have done X, Y, Z, alpha, this or that. That is good, because it means you've improved. You've gotten better at your craft, and you're now producing better content now than you were then. So hope that happens. The least you should do is expect it to happen, because hopefully it does, and hope that it happens. Because if it doesn't happen, it means you're not improving whatsoever. And what good can come of that? And very few people nail it on the first go. I know it seems like that sometimes, especially when you look at musicians. They seem to put out their first album as their best work, and they can't do anything as good as it afterwards. Maybe there is something true about that when it comes to music, but when it comes to making YouTube videos, it's the other way around. Constantly improve, constant improvement, constant tweaking and amending. Well, a lot of channels tend to get better and better with age, in my experience. Here's a question from Yellow Camel. Are you moving your hands while answering these questions? Good question. I don't think I was, but I wasn't really paying attention. I don't think I was. No, I'm going to say no. But maybe I was. No, I really wasn't. But you wouldn't know if I was. All right, now I'm just messing around with you. Good question. Here is Bombchilink. I'm almost positive I pronounced that correctly. It's not even a real word. Why am I bothering? He says, or she says, Bomb says, dude, love your 12 Angry Men series. Great film, great review, and also great voice. Oh, thank you very much, Bomb Jalink. Or should I just call you Bomb? I don't know what to say when people are just compliment me. I got nothing other than thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't really take much credit for the voice though. It's just the way it is. But I'm glad you were happy with the choice of the film and the execution of the review. Anonymous Man. Anonymous Man says or asks, how can you argue with a bigoted person respectfully? Just the way you argue with anybody, with someone who is not bigoted respectfully. You argue with them respectfully. I don't get it. Is there supposed to be this seems like a non sequitur. Just because you're arguing with a bigoted person doesn't mean you can't be respectful. How does one affect the other? You could argue with Hitler and you could still do it respectfully. Should you? Probably. What use would it be? That's a good question. But you could be arguing with Satan himself and still go, hello, good morning, shake his hand, say, so, what is this whole burning people for eternity thing about? I'm just curious. It doesn't matter if the person's bigoted or not. You can control, hopefully, your behavior. You can argue respectfully with anybody. Good question, though, Anonymous Man, whoever you are. Good question, because it allowed me to say that. Oh, here's a comment. This is not in the super chat, but it's by Donald Trump. I'll bet. Capitalism best. It must be Trump. That's about as articulated he ever is. Oh, here's another comment by Trump. My wall will stop Mexicans, change my mind. Okay. Some of them enter the country legally and they overstay their visas. Boom. But I know that's not really Trump. So whatever. Have fun, everyone. Have fun, by all means. This is the internet, and you can be anonymous if you want. Some of you are, so have fun, by all means. Okay, well, no one has said anything in the super chat. Whoop, I spoke too soon. John Smith says, in a sentence, comma, what would be the main piece of advice? Another request for advice. What would be the main piece of advice that you hope your viewers understood and took away from your 12 Angry Men series? Good question, because you're asking for an answer in one sentence. The main piece of advice? Well, I gotta really make this count if it can only be one sentence long. Okay, how about this? Though it might not seem that way, people's minds, people, meaning all of us, people's minds are more open than you might think they are. I think that's a worthy takeaway. If we're limited to one sentence. King Wilson again. What's up, King? The people demand me to ask. The people demand me to ask. I think you meant to say, so I must. Are traps gay? Thank you for answering my previous questions. You're welcome. Look, this is a... I don't know if you think you're the first person to ask this question or not. You're not. It seems like this question is asked in every friggin' stream. And you know what? At this point, since people enjoy asking, since people think it's so funny to ask the question in the first place, I think it's funny not to answer it. I get the last laugh. The people demanded you to ask. Yeah, I'll bet they did. Anonymous man, again. Oh, God. Excuse me. What good is this water doing? Absolutely nothing. What it is good for. Anonymous man says, my bad. You're bad for what? What did you do wrong? Anonymous man says, my bad. I didn't have enough characters in the last comment. What I mean is a bigoted person tend not to listen to counter arguments and insult you. Oh, well, I am going to stick with my original answer and to just say that you are in control of how respectful you are. You being in control of your own behavior is still not dependent on how anyone else behaves. But if you are having an argument with a bigoted person who doesn't listen to your counter arguments and insults you, then just conclude the conversation. I mean, if you or anyone else is wondering, well, how can you get through to this person for sure? Sometimes you can't. You just can't. You're going to end up having arguments with people who are not going to allow their mind to change. And if/when you recognize that, you have to, unless you need to arrive at a unanimous agreement, like in 12 Angry Men. Other than that, once you recognize that you're having a conversation with somebody who is not willing to allow their mind to change, conclude the conversation. What good is going to come of it if you hang around and keep on trying? It's probably not what you want to hear, but unless you need to convince them otherwise, unless you need to, you must, which is an extremely rare predicament to find yourself in, I'd say respectfully conclude the conversation. Good question, anonymous man. Again, whoever you are. Drano third. I'm going to call you Rose. Our trap's gay. Yep. Well, thanks for the $5. You must have heard me say that I wasn't going to answer that question before you asked it, so I'm just going to assume that you're in on the joke too, and thank you very much. I still get the last laugh. Ghost of Recon? Okay. I'll call you Ghost. Ghost says, I love your arguments. Thank you, Ghost. Thank you. He goes on to say, I don't, or she, I'm sorry. I don't know sorry for assuming it was a man. Most of my audience are men, and the thumbnail or the avatar looks like a man. Never mind. The point is that they go on to say, I don't always agree, but you do a very good job of laying out your syllogisms. Okay, this might be embarrassing, but it's just too bad. I'm going to look up the definition of that word. Syllogism. I think I should know. Should have heard that word. An instance of a form of reasoning in which a conclusion is drawn from two given or assumed positions. Right. Yeah, I really should have known that word existed and what it meant. Well, Ghost of, if that is your real name, first of all, thank you. I already said that, but I'll say it again. Thank you. And to your point about you saying you don't always agree, to tell the truth, I wouldn't believe you if you said you did. I consider it a given. And if you think I do a good job, I appreciate that, but I could always do a better job. And I'm not saying that because I consider it a failure if I don't change everybody's mind. It's just a matter of craft. I can and always will have room for improvement. But thank you anyway for the kind words. Connor Compton again. This live stream seems quite deep, so I'll lighten it a bit. Here's another £5. Love your videos. Have a nice day. All right. Connor Compton, lightening the mood. What were we getting deep? Well, I don't know. I guess so. Some of you were asking pretty deep questions, and I obliged. So thank you, Connor, for the pounds. Obviously, they're converted to dollars. You know, I like saying that. Thanks for the pounds. King Wilson. The absolute mad lad. How dare you get the last laugh? All right, you can have it if you want. Whatever. All right, I believe that's everything in the super chat. Oops. Almost missed one. Here's a question from Bomb again. Do you believe in God? I don't know if you were here earlier in the stream when I said do not ask any personal questions. I'm going to say it again. Please stop. Or please stop. Please don't ask any personal questions. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in gold? Wait a minute. Do you believe in God? This is not what I thought it was. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in gold? Which one should take the L? Oh, you know what? I just noticed someone not in the super chat. What do you call it? The unsuper chat, the regular chat. Someone is asking if how delayed the stream is. It's not. The stream is not delayed. I'm just not getting around to every question in the super chat when it is asked. Sometimes I take a little time to answer the questions in the super chat, just like I did now. And I don't know why. I didn't need to in this case, because this was which one should take the L? Yellow Camel again asks, what is worse? Falsely assuming someone is arguing in good faith and responding in good faith, or falsely assuming they are arguing in bad faith and responding accordingly? Yeah, this stream is kind of deep, isn't it? God, that's a really good question. What is worse? Well, all right, if I got to pick one, I have to say one is worse than the other. I would say falsely assuming that someone is arguing in bad faith. That seems worse, because if you are having a conversation with someone who's arguing in good faith and you mistakenly arrive at the conclusion that they're not, you've squandered an opportunity to have a good discussion. Whereas if you assume that somebody is arguing in good faith and they're not, what's the worst that can be said about you? You're a little gullible. Big deal. So what? It was better that you made an effort. It's better that you make a good effort than to not. Good question. Really good question. I'm not neglecting the super chat. I'm just curious to see what everyone in the regular chat or the normie chat, somebody referred to it as the normie chat, is saying. Deplorable chat. And then people are talking about someone called Cool Bro is saying why my questions aren't answered. I hope you didn't ask anything in the super chat, because if you did, I owe you a response. Yes, somebody wants what is your social security number? I'm very happy to see that it's apparently at least most of the subscribers to this channel have a wonderful sense of humor. I'm very happy to see that that's the case. It implies intelligence, at the very least. Ghost again. Recon equals reconnaissance. Okay. I was a scout in the U.S. Army. Well, then in that case, I salute you. And I'm not being a smartass. I salute you. And God bless you if you're religious. You're better than me. You're better than most of us. Let's see. Daniel Daniel, I'll just call you Daniel. Care to give a preview of what's coming up on Counter Arguments? Okay, why not? This is a live stream, and I'm open to questions. So, you will, for those of you who are tuned in, all 646 of you, here's what's in the works. I mentioned earlier that now that the 12 Angry Men series is over, the channel is going to return to its usual formats. But even with that having been said, something something that yet another thing that has never been done before is currently in the works, is currently being produced, and that is two counter arguments are being produced in tandem, and they are going to be released simultaneously. They both have, and they both have to do with the United States government. A lot of you. Well, I'll just assume that most of you are already aware that there's a counter argument on this channel called "America is a Christian Nation," and that is a counter argument to the argument that America is a Christian nation. That argument is currently being revised. I know that annoys some people, but other people appreciate it. And overall, all in all, I think it's worthwhile. If you go to that video now and search the comments, you will find a lot of good rebuttals to that video. That video came up short in a few respects, and it could be improved. So it will be improved. The other video that's going to be released in tandem with the revised counter-argument to America is a Christian nation is a counter-argument to America is a democracy. So as you can see, one argument is challenging a right-wing argument, and the other argument is challenging a left-wing argument, and they both have to do with the United States government. So that's what's in the works. And thank you, Daniel, for asking. There's your preview. I hope you guys enjoy it. Brandon Prince asks, is juror number 7 actually the based libertarian? Good question. Perhaps. I don't know. I don't think I'm supposed to take that question too seriously, if at all. But good question. Yeah, I wonder if anyone else has anything to add. Oh, I just see, here's Ghost of Recon in the normie chat, peasant chat. I've seen it called all sorts of things, saying thanks, bro. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, next up in the super chat is Anonymous Man. Who are you? Who knows? He's anonymous. He is a man. We know that. Or do we? I'm sorry. Let me just read what you said. Anonymous Man says, emotion tends to be very hard to remove from an argument. Yes, that is correct. He goes on to say, and I struggle not falling back on my own biases. We all do, man. We all do. He asks, how do you, if you've ever been in a heated argument, keep your cool? And then he goes on to say, last question, then I'll leave you alone. Hey, come on, man. You don't have to leave me alone. I'm hosting a live stream. And you're giving me money. Why would I want you to leave me? Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. Let me get to the question. The question, which is a really good question. Emotions tend to be very hard to remove from an argument. How do you keep your cool if you're in a heated argument? The answer to that question, or the advice that can be given regarding that question, I really don't think it has to do with one's ability to reason. And I think that's a distinction that was drawn in the 12 Angry Men series. And I'm not the first person on planet Earth to draw that distinction. There is a difference between the ability to reason and the ability to behave are two different abilities. You know, it's possible for someone to make sense and act poorly, be a very mean and unpleasant person. So if you want to know how to keep your cool in a heated argument, let's begin there. Don't think that if you're just really good at arguing, that will somehow help. I really don't think it will. What will help is strong character. And I know this sounds obvious, but it's true. You need to just, I don't know. I think it would just help to find some peace of mind within yourself. Go into every argument assuring yourself, or just reminding yourself, that this might not result in anything. You might have an argument with somebody, and nobody's mind is going to change. Hopefully somebody learns something, but at the end of it, nobody changes their view on anything. that might happen. And I think it's important to tell yourself that before you engage in a debate. Because if you do that, if you tell yourself that this might not, the net result of this might be nothing, and then lo and behold, the argument becomes heated and you want to step away from it, it will be easier to do that. Because you can tell yourself, hey, look, I went into this not knowing if anything would happen as a result, if I'd accomplish anything. This isn't going well. If I keep arguing, it's just going to get more heated. So let's just shake hands with my opponent and sincerely or insincerely apologize for the argument getting heated in the first place. And that would be my advice. I mean, if an argument gets heated, at that point, I think it's more important to make amends and get along with the other person again than it is to continue arguing. That's not important anymore. What is important is bringing everyone back to a place of reestablishing goodwill. And I hope that advice helps. I hope it helps. Because some people go into debates thinking, I'm going to destroy this guy, or, I'm going to drop a truth bomb. And if you go into a debate thinking that and it gets heated, you're not going to tap out. You're going to just stay in there and go, I'm going to win this fucking thing at all costs. That's not wise. If you go into it instead thinking, look, who knows? I'm just in this to hopefully to change someone's mind. But if I can't, I can't. It's okay. Well, then it'll be easier to walk away when it doesn't end up working out very well. Hopefully. I got lost. Where's the next? King Wilson. Hey, King. He says, I will give you $5 to tell people to stop super chatting so you can answer questions from the plebeian chat. The plebeian chat. How do you like that, folks? How do you like that, being referred to the plebeian chat? And that coming from a guy who has the word king in his name, no less. Oh, that was funny. That was really, really funny. Plebeian. Here's someone saying that was a fake laugh. Hey, fuck you, dude. That wasn't fake. I really thought that was funny. Fake laugh. I'm just going to assume you were kidding. Well, looks like you got your wish, King Wilson. No one is using the super chat. Thank you very much. Let's see what's going on in the regular old, what are we calling it? Plebeian chat. We are the council of the plebs. We are plebs. I'm a plebeian. I prefer the term I can't read that. Do you like chicken nuggets? Well, I hope you're happy now. Now we're reading comments from the plebeian chat, and they are terrific. Tribune of the plebs. Hail the can't read that word. Yes, join the peasants. I like pie. Artrap's gay. Why did my father leave me? Now, this is where the important questions are being asked. Snickers or Mars? Are you subscribed to PewDiePie? Oh God. Too many questions are being asked too quickly. Let's see here. Will you... Okay, here's a good question. Will you do a series on logical fallacies? Well, if I answer that question by saying yes, that would mean that I was committing to it. I was going to do it for sure. But in reality, it's just an idea that I've had and I'm still kicking around. But I haven't, I don't really plan to start it anytime soon. But I do want to do it. And it would be as straightforward as you would probably assume. It would just be a series of videos, each one about a logical fallacy, and hopefully they're like 2 or 3 minutes a pop. That would be worthwhile, and I'm sure they would get a lot of traffic too. But right now, since the 12 Angry Men series wrapped up, for the time being, for the next few months, I do want to stick to getting arguments up and running again. And I'll hopefully collaborate with a few other YouTubers. King Wilson, I said answer questions, not senseless drivel. I repeat. Or he repeat. Well, he can't repeat it. He just wrote it. I will repeat it on his behalf. King Wilson said, I said answer questions, not senseless drivel. Look, King Wilson, I looked for questions. I looked and I searched high and low. And it wasn't easy to find them. There were a few, though, and I did just answer one to my credit, so thank you very much. Oh, here's someone asking, do you still appreciate the humor of your subscribers? Of course I do. Of course I do. Ghost of Recon. Here's a Ghost of Recon is giving us a quote by Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson says, "For I have sworn upon the altar of God, eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man." It's going to be a part of the counter argument. Part of the revised counter argument to America as a Christian nation addresses not that particular quote, but it addresses quotes. It addresses quotes made by the founding fathers. I'm not going to get too much into it, but basically it's going to make a point as to whether or not quoting the founding fathers really does confirm or debunk the argument that America is a Christian nation. That's a pretty good quote, regardless. Jonah says, dogs or cats? Please be honest. Okay. Dogs. Hey, didn't I say no personal questions? That's okay. That's all right. Power Moose says, oh, I'm sorry. I just realized now we've been streaming for 61, make it 62 minutes. So we've been at it for an hour. This stream was going to last for at least an hour, but probably not more than 2. We'll see. I don't have any strict time frame on when this is going to end. And so far I am enjoying myself. And I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves too. After a while, those of you who tuned in when this stream began, I know after an hour, it can start breaking down and getting a little ridiculous, and maybe you might get a little bored. I hope that's not the case. And if there is anyone who has any further questions regarding 12 Angry Men or the series, please feel free to ask them, and hopefully I will spot them. Now, to Power Moose. Power Moose says, the ultimate question, bone in or boneless wings? That is the ultimate question. Well, my answer is boneless. Yeah, that's right. I just picked a side. Oh, I see someone here is saying that they just joined the stream. Welcome. Yes, I do understand. While I do understand that there are some people who will have caught the stream at the very beginning and hung around, I also understand that given that it is a live stream on YouTube, people are going to be tuning in and out the whole time. So for anyone who's just showed up, welcome. Welcome. Glad you caught it, because this wasn't scheduled. So if you caught it, you just so happen to have been in the right place at the right time. Yellow Camel asks, goose or wolves? Please be honest. You guys are outrageous. Goose or wolves. Ghost of Recon. Ghost of Recon says, I don't think quoting Thomas Jefferson supports religion. Why? I didn't think that you thought that. He goes on to say, it's the message of the quote. Thomas Jefferson was a deist, but rejected religiosity. Well, actually, that's not entirely true, but it is partially true. Some people regard Thomas Jefferson as a Christian deist. And what that means is that Thomas Jefferson rejected the Trinity. He did not believe that Jesus was the Son of God. He did not believe he was divine. He rejected miracles, which includes the virgin birth and the resurrection. But he did subscribe to the moral teachings and the moral philosophy of Jesus Christ. Nevertheless, Ghost of Recon, that's a good point. And I'm sorry if I gave you the impression that I misunderstood why you provided the quote. It was a good quote, regardless. Okay, back to the plebeian chat. I hate geese. Geese are terrifying. How are you, or is that a personal question? Some weird sword. That's not a, well, I guess it is a personal question, but you know what? I don't mind answering that one. How am I? I'm well. I'm doing very well. Thank you. Let's see here. Here's a question from Nick. Can you change the opinion of someone who won't listen to you? No. How could you? It doesn't seem possible. It doesn't. If they won't listen to you, how can you change their mind? That reminds me of an old quote. Not a quote. It's just a saying. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. Or something like that. Here's a question from Maria. Hang on, Maria. Need a drink. Let's see here. Maria asks, or says, I have a hard time with debates because of my slow thinking. Well, that's according to you. Do you have any tips on how one can come up with good arguments in a short time? Well, how can you do that? I would say just by doing it frequently. I don't think there really is any quick solution to getting good at arguing. I think that arguing, much like anything else, I repeat, much like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. You could compare it to anything, but just for the sake of having an example, think of a musical instrument. There's really no trick or thing you can do to get good at playing a musical instrument quickly. But if you play it often, if you invest a lot of time into it, then eventually, gradually, over time, you will get better and better and better. So what I would say to you, Maria, is that if it really is true that your thinking is slow, I'm not buying that. But if that really is true, and you're not able to come up with arguments quickly, my advice would be to just keep doing it. Try not to get yourself into a debate that's too demanding. If you can help it, if you really don't think you're good at arguing, but engage in easier debates, for lack of a better word, easier, quote unquote, easier debates. Because like I say, like anything else, you just have to do it to get good at it. That certainly applies to the ability to debate. So just keep at it. And eventually, I really do believe that at a certain point, you're going to realize that it's getting easier for you. I hope that pans out for you, Maria. Here is a question from Nuclear Gandhi. That's a really cool name. Nuclear Gandhi. Here's the question. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What is the airspeed velocity of a swallow? Oh, you're just throwing your money away. I don't mind, though. I don't mind. I don't know. To answer your question, I have no idea, but I don't think you were looking for the answer, were you? Here's a couple people in the plebeian chat. Oh no, it's Nuclear Gandhi. That was really funny. V. Agentur didn't say anything, but I'm still gonna thank him for the one of something. Not sure what currency that is. Nicholas I'll call you Nick. Nick asks, have you considered a video around Hitchens? Are you asking Has a video been considered that would challenge one of his arguments? And the answer to that question is no. But that doesn't mean he can't be challenged. He just hasn't. He's never ended up in the pipeline. That would be worthwhile, though, wouldn't it? It would be worthwhile to make a video that challenged an argument that was made by Christopher Hitchens, because he was particularly good at making arguments. I know that's a matter of opinion, but it seems like a majority of people would agree with that. So, good question, Nick. No, to answer your question, no. But I'd like to think someday, yes. Andrew Carroll asks, how do you deal with gaslighting? It's tricky. You know, to give you my initial answer to that question, I don't know. For those who don't know, gaslighting is manipulating someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. The most recent example, this is going to seem kind of stupid, but for the most recent example of gaslighting, or at least the most recent time that I encountered somebody referencing gaslighting, was in the Honest trailer for Mary Poppins. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I recommend it. In the Honest trailer for Mary Poppins, it was mentioned that Mary Poppins gaslights people. Which she does, of course. That's what made it funny. And yeah, here's someone in the chat saying, "What OP's OC?" He says gaslighting is pure evil when done right. Yeah. I'm afraid I don't have any straight answers when it comes to how to deal with gaslighting. That's a very good question. All that I really have to say would be to I don't know, just do whatever you can to identify it as quickly as possible. And then once you realize it, run. That would be my advice once you realize it's happening. Don't try to continue the conversation in spite of it. Just get out of there. Get out. King Wilson. Notice at Prussia Ball, please. Okay. Did he say something in the super chat, or is he just saying something else elsewhere? Notice at Prussia Ball. Okay. Let's see here. Prussia Ball. Where is he? I don't see him anywhere. What are you doing, King Wilson? Are you trying to lead me on a wild goose chase? People are... Oh, here we are. King Wilson again. People are... I'm sorry, where? People are asking a question about Steven Universe in the pleb chat. I hope it's a legit one, or else I'll look like an ass. That's King Wilson. Steven Universe? Well, look, if that's true, if people are asking questions about Steven Universe, don't bother, because I've never saw the show. And I know after saying that, people are now going to comment saying, what? You have to see it. Okay, fine. Someday I'll see it. But I haven't seen it before, so I can't answer any questions that have to do with it. Yeah, here's one of them. Here's a question by Maybe Eden. Is Steven Universe leftist in nature for having gay main characters? Well, I don't know. I never saw the show, so I'm afraid I don't have anything to say about it. Here's a question. Let's see. Let's keep the stream going for another 15 minutes, let's say. Shaka 860 says, saw this in the pleb chat. Boy, that really has stuck, hasn't it? Hasn't it? Everybody's referring to the, I don't know what you really call it, the regular chat, the non-super chat. Everyone is referring to it as the pleb chat now. We did it. We have christened it the pleb chat. Now here is I'm sorry, I lost your question. Shaka says, saw this in the pleb chat. What makes people racist? And how do you argue against it? Thought it was interesting considering the Liam Neeson controversy. Yeah, well, it's interesting whether there's a controversy or not. The question itself, what makes people racist? That's a hell of a question. Obviously, indoctrination is one way, but it's not the only way. People can become people who are not raised to be racist, who are not brought up that way or taught to think that way. I suppose they can still become racist as well. And how does that happen? Well, the human brain naturally looks for patterns, and you have to imagine, or you could imagine, let's just say a hypothetical white person let's just say a hypothetical white person interacts mostly with other white people. Let's say they only interact with a handful of black people a year. If one of those very, very, very few black people that they ever interact with robs them or assaults them, then the brain is going to naturally notice a pattern there, whether it should or not. And if that person doesn't think critically about it, then that pattern is going to establish itself. And from that day forward, they're not going to feel comfortable around black people for anecdotal reasons. So I guess that's, I hope that answers your question as to what makes people racist. There is no one thing. And how do you argue against it? Well, I guess I just did inadvertently, isn't it? At least in part. If somebody became a racist because they had a handful of bad interactions with people of other races, that's anecdotal. Base a conclusion on an actual trend, a statistical trend, but don't basing a conclusion on your own personal experiences. Usually not a reasonable thing to do. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that answers that question well. And thank you for Shaka, however you pronounce that. Thank you for pulling that question out of the plebeian chat. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. Here's a question. The next question by a fella I'm just going to call V. What is the difference between U.S. and European way of arguing? I don't know. Is there a difference? I mean, is there? There are millions of different ways of arguing. If there is a quote unquote American way and a quote unquote European way, mind you, the United States is a country and Europe is a continent. If there really is two such distinct styles of arguing, I'm not aware of them. So I'm afraid I can't answer that question because I don't know how to. Nevertheless, thanks for asking it. Here's a question from Declan, something like that. Have you ever used a logical fallacy in a debate? Well, yeah, I'm human. I am fallible. Of course, I have used logical fallacies in a debate. I'd like to think I never did it on purpose, but that doesn't mean I never used one. The next question. Oh, God, I really fell behind on the super chat. I got to catch up. Joshua Hicks. Will you ever do another series like 12 Angry Men again? This was answered already earlier in the stream, but I don't mind answering it again. It is severely, severely unlikely. For two reasons. For one, I just don't have an idea. I don't know what another series would be based on, whether it was a movie or a book or anything else, any other work of art. And the other reason is because the 12 Angry Men series was the purpose of the 12 Angry Men series was to study and analyze and understand debating and human psychology in general. And a lot of what that series was meant to accomplish was universal lessons. So another series could be made, but what could it possibly accomplish that wasn't already accomplished in the 12 Angry Men series? So good question, and thank you for asking it. The answer to the question is almost certainly no. That was special, and it's almost definitely a one-off. Crimson51 asks, in a recent Crash Course video, Hank Green says that science is political because to be apolitical is to be pro-status quo. There were debates in the comments about this. Your thoughts? Unfortunately, Crimson51, I don't have thoughts on this because I hadn't seen the video. Oh, God, I'm so sorry about this, guys. Excuse me. Unfortunately, I don't have thoughts on that because I didn't see the video and I didn't read any of the comments. I certainly am going to do it now, but as of now, I haven't. So unfortunately, I don't have any thoughts. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. Apparently, Hank Green made the argument that science is political, and it caused a debate in the comments. Well, I don't have any thoughts now, but I soon will. In fact, I think that'll be the very next thing I do after this stream. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. King Wilson, I'm so glad that my idea... excuse me. I'm so glad, King Wilson says, that my idea for the pleb chat stuck. You bet it did. For those who don't know, for those who want to know where the term plebeian chat came from, credit to King Wilson. He coined the phrase plebeian chat. Plebeian. That was really funny. Brandon Prince. Ghost in the Shell. Philosophy breakdown when? What? What are you talking about? Ghost in the Shell. Let's look that up. Ghost in the Shell. This was a movie that was made 2 years ago, and it's got a 43% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, ha ha ha. We're not, as I've already said, it's practically a guarantee that there's not going to be another series on this channel that analyzes a movie or any other work of art. I'm curious now what that movie's about. I haven't seen it. Warhawk asks, how should you respond when the opposing view is relying on a straw man? Well, the answer is in the question. You identify it as a straw man. Now, what does that look like? Or rather, what does that sound like? Because when you're having a debate with somebody and they commit any fallacy, whether it's a straw man or some other one, you don't want to just you could just respond by saying, that's a straw man, but it would probably be more effective. It would be more effective rather than just saying that. It would be more effective to explain how it is a straw man. Perhaps offer a comparison or an example. Say to them, that would be like ... saying ... and offer an example. But how should you respond when the opposing view relies on a straw man? Well, identify the straw man and explain how it is a straw man. And unfortunately, I can't be any more specific than that because it relies on the nature of the argument itself. Hopefully that's a useful answer, although I felt like I was just stating the obvious. Uh-oh, someone says I'm not pronouncing plebeian correctly. Is that true? You're always at risk of mispronouncing something in a stream when there's no one else there to correct it for you. Of course, when you're just typing comments, you can't give an example of how it should be pronounced. Oh, now someone else is saying I was saying it right. The pronunciation was just fine. Okay, thank you, everybody. Or thank you to those two people whose comments I read. Hey, do my eyes deceive me? Coffee Break is in the house. And he's asking if this is the first live stream. Nope. But it would seem that way because every time a stream is done on this channel, it's never announced, it's never scheduled, and when it's over, it's unlisted. So I can understand anyone thinking that this is the first. It's not. That's not your name. Jonah asks, should someone be able to argue or be taken seriously when debating issues that do not directly affect them, even if they have done extensive research on the subject. And he provides an example: men arguing about abortion. All right, let's answer this question. Should someone be able to argue or be taken seriously when debating an issue that does not directly affect them? Well, let's question that standard. Does something have to directly affect you in order for you to have an opinion or in order for you to criticize it? If that's true, then we would not be able to, or most of us would not be able to argue for or against a lot of the wars that we're engaged in. We would not be able to criticize how much millionaires and billionaires should be taxed. We should not be able to. Someone who doesn't own a gun could not argue in favor of gun control. It seems like a silly standard when you apply to other issues. I see where I see where you or anyone else would be coming from with the example of men arguing against abortion, but if you apply that standard to other issues, it seems to come apart. So I would say no. You shouldn't. An issue shouldn't have to directly affect you in order for you to have an opinion or to argue for or against it. I hope that was a satisfactory answer. Was it? I don't know. Someone says that's dumb. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you thought that way. Yes. Well, let's get back on track now. I fell behind with the super chat, and I'm not going to let anyone get away here. Let's see here. I really let me just say this right now. If anyone said something in the super chat and I missed it, I'm more than just sorry. I want to know about it and make up for it. Here's something from Philip. Yeah, this chat, I really fell behind. The chat doesn't allow me to go back all the way up into infinity. So I really, really hope I didn't miss anyone in the super chat. Philip says, if I sent you a YouTube political video, would you deconstruct it? He goes on to say, I wasn't sure what your process was about content creating. Well, no, well, never mind the process. If you want to send a political video, you can always tweet it at counter arguing. You could email it or post it on the Facebook page if you'd like. I mean, if you're asking, if you have Philip, I'm talking to you, Philip. If there's a particular video that you want a response to, I can't guarantee that because I'm a busy guy and I can't respond to everything that's sent to me. But by all means, find a way to tweet it, post it on the Facebook page, email it if you want me to see it, and I'll certainly see it. Ravi says, here we go, Baby Hitler. It only took 88 minutes, and we're talking about Baby Hitler. Outstanding. Here's the question. Why kill Baby Hitler when the butterfly effect dictates that we may not survive the Cold War? What? There would be no Cold War if there was no Hitler. If you alter sexy time for anyone... Okay. All right. That's true. If you alter sexy time for anyone, a different sperm will fertilize different egg, different people. Yep, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And it was a funny point too. Next up in the super chat, Rowan. I cannot pronounce your first name. I'm not going to try. Rowan. Hey man, really love your videos. Thank you, Rowan. 12 Angry Men is one of my favorite movies, so I was so happy. LOL. My question is, could you mention some YouTubers you like, both about politics and arguments and others? Okay, a few channels that deal in politics and or arguments. The first one I'll mention, and this is easy. This was the first channel that Counter Arguments ever collaborated with. Rationality Rules. It's a channel managed by an Englishman by the name of Stephen Woodford. I also recommend another channel that collaborated with Counter Arguments, Technicality. There's also Coffee Break, who apparently who certainly was in this chat, might still be, I don't know. Coffee Break makes videos that relate to arguments, not necessarily, but political issues, topical issues. You could call them video essays. And then there's Nuance Bro, and that channel, that channel directly addresses arguments. Unlike a channel like Technicality or Coffee Break, channels like Rationality Rules and Nuance Bro directly address arguments. So those are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 recommendations. Hopefully that's a nice even number. And if you haven't heard of any of them, I hope you like them. Pope guilty. Pope guilty. If you could, he asks, Pope guilty, that is, if you could at any time halt the progression of human technology, would you? No. Sorry if this is out there or inappropriate for this channel. No, not really. It's not inappropriate. I mean, this is not inappropriate compared to a lot of other stuff that's said on the internet, to state the bleeding obvious. If you could at any time halt the progression of human technology, would you? No. I don't know. I wouldn't want to halt progress, so no, that's my answer. Next up, King Wilson again. The king has spoken yet again. To clarify about the Ghost in the Shell question, he was... someone asked earlier about the movie Ghost in the Shell, and King Wilson is clarifying now. He says he was referring to the 2 seasons of anime. Oh, the standalone complex. It's cool and insightful, but out of the purview of this channel, in my opinion. So says King Wilson. Okay. Yeah, somebody in the stream asked earlier about Ghost in the Shell. And I was aware that there was a movie, but the movie was based on a show, an animated show. And I foolishly looked up the movie instead of the series. So thanks for pointing that out, King Wilson. I haven't seen either. I haven't seen this show or the movie, so I don't know what I'm missing out on. I don't know why that would possibly make a good series, but again, just to say it again, it's extremely, extremely unlikely that another series like the 12 Angry Men series will be made on this channel again. Oh, there's Coffee Break again. He's talking to somebody about something, so I'll just let them get along. Here's a question. Are you not scared of AI? I am. I don't think it's scary, but I, like anyone else, might be worried that AI would become the new dominant species. And if that happens, we are screwed. But I'm not saying anything original, am I? Oh, someone wants to know what AI is. Artificial intelligence. There you go. Here's a question about Ben Shapiro. Opinion on his style of arguing? Well, if you want to know my opinion of his style of arguing, I don't really find a lot of fault with his style. The question, I think it would be more worthwhile to discuss when/how it's implemented. Ben Shapiro's style of arguing is really not all that bad. He does tend to stay focused on issues. He's pretty sharp at spotting a fallacy whenever it's used against him. He does admit when he agrees with people. When he does acknowledge common ground he has with those with people he otherwise disagrees with. That's not to say he's never made a bad argument, but his style of arguing is, for the most part, pretty sharp. That's not to say he never made a bad argument, but he seems like a pretty darn reasonable character. King Wilson, the chat demands you crown me king of the plebs. Okay. All hail King Wilson. King of the plebs. Oh, I gotta see what the pleb chat has to say about that. What do you have to say, plebs, about your new king? Hmm? Anything? No one has anything to say about their new king. How do you like that, King Wilson? May his reign be glorious. King of the plebs. Someone else says, "Love your music choices." Thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoy the music as much as I do. All hail King Wilson. Hail. We don't need a king. Yes, you do. You're a pleb. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be speaking this way to you. Oh, this is so much fun. Next up, Andrew Carroll. Do you hate anyone? Hey, is that a personal question? And to it, well, I don't mind answering it. Do I hate anyone? No, I don't. There's too many more important things to do. Can't help but notice that Coffee Break has said something about AI. It is a highly misunderstood topic. I feel that the idea that GAI is close is a big stretch. Okay, I hope that's true. Say, doesn't artificial intelligence seem like a worthy topic for a Coffee Break video? Folks, I do. Let's see here. Rowan, in particular, this is what Rowan says. Rowan says, in particular, I also wanted to know if you watch any other YouTubers, like vloggers, musicians, gamers, etc. Also, sub to PewDiePie? Someday. I don't know why I'm putting it off. It's going to happen someday. Gamers? No. Musicians? No. Vloggers? No, I really don't care for vlogs. A lot of the content much of my diet, if you will, on YouTube has to do with the news, what's currently happening, history, all the significant things that have happened, along with anything. Whenever I'm not watching something that isn't related to politics or the news or debate, sometimes I'll just put on music for whatever that's worth. If it's not any of that, sometimes it's just good old fashioned comedy and humor. There was a movie was recently made, and it was recently finished and is going to come out, if it isn't out already, about Laurel and Hardy. So recently I've been watching a lot of Laurel and Hardy. In case you were wondering what I'm watching on my my downtime, I don't know why that would interest you, but you have a right to be interested. How do you pronounce that? Go Zeppelin. Duh. Thanks for the 99 cents. Here is someone. Now we're back to the plebeian chat. Someone named Joel is offended that I don't watch Pewds. I never said I didn't watch PewDiePie. I'm just not subscribed. But I really don't watch him that much. Every now and a blue moon just for fun. There's too much stuff. There's too much stuff on YouTube to keep up with. Okay, guys, this stream has been going on for about an hour and a half now, a little more than an hour and a half. It's not going to last any more than 2 hours. Here's a good question. I'm going to get back to that. Just so you know, I'm going to wrap this stream up in about 5 or 10 minutes, maybe, depending on how good the questions are. Here's a question from Some Weird Sword. Was there any inspiration to the visual style of your videos? And if so, what? Good question. If anything inspired the the visual style of the channel, I don't know. I really don't think there's anything I can cite as an inspiration, like this movie, this show, this t-shirt design. Nothing. There's nothing I can cite that inspired it. The initial idea for the bulletin boards and the post-it notes initially stemmed from my lack of a willingness to be on camera. But I soon realized that I wanted to, whatever I was going to put on the screen, if it wasn't going to be me, ought to be useful. And I don't know, it was just the first thing that came into my mind. I really wasn't thinking too hard about it. I just thought, well, what can I put on the screen? I wanted to put something, a lot of visual cues on the screen that related to what was being said, so that viewers could see the argument while they were hearing it. Me resorting to the Post-it notes and the note cards and the bulletin board and the chalkboard and the loose leaf paper and all that. That was primarily born out of me just wanting to have a theme. I didn't want to just have plain words on a blank background, like a blue background with yellow text, stuff like that. Like, I wanted it to look like you were actually seeing something. But why the Post-it note and the bulletin board was the first thing that came to my mind, I don't know. It's really not that creative. That's just the first thing that popped in my head, and I ran with it. Oh, here's someone who says they wish they could send a super chat, but it's unavailable in their country. Gee, I'm sorry to hear that. I thought it was available in all countries. Ray, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Connor, someone by the name of Bubba Dads gave $5 but didn't say anything. I do want to acknowledge that. Thank you. Connor Smith, what's your least favorite argument that has been made about any topic that is maybe a popular argument? What is my least favorite argument that is also a popular argument? Okay, let's not think too hard about this. Let's just say any argument. I don't know. This is an easy target. Let's just pick on Jake Paul or Logan Paul or any other sort of celebrity who's just sort of famous for being famous. Anyone who argues over stuff that I don't think is important but is popular nevertheless. I hope that qualifies as a satisfactory answer. Connor, good question. King Wilson, hey plebs, look out! King Wilson is speaking again. It's been a good ride with you, CA. Do me a favor before you end the chat and wish everyone a good day from me. Long live the pleb chat. King Wilson has gone. He has left, but he's wished you all a good day. All hail King Wilson, king of the plebs. Farewell, King Wilson. I'm so glad you were here. Oh, boy. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes now. Pope Guilty says, I call a crusade against Wilson. Well, King Wilson, if you're still here, which you might not be because you said you were leaving, but if you are still here listening to this, someone is coming for your throne. And that someone is Pope Guilty the 13th. Why is that so funny? That's a very funny name. Pope Guilty. Monkey Chips says, thanks for the insightful and entertaining content. You're welcome. Thank you for watching it and enjoying it. Overthrow the monarchy. Son of Lethal says, establish communism. We are our own king. I think he meant to say own. Cloner Stive, I think, gave $1 and didn't say anything. Thank you, Stive. I mentioned, this is just great. I mentioned Jake Paul, so somebody said it's everyday, bro. Oh, King Wilson, you're still here. Before we go, one last thing. He says, I think the super chat should henceforth be used to boost popular arguments / comments from the pleb chat. Hey, that's not a bad idea, folks. What do you say? Those who are willing to part with a few of their dollars can represent good questions in the plebeian chat that I don't notice because there are just so many of them. It's someone, Handsome Jack says, Wilson! Noel Hand says, could you do more? I think he's referring to streams. Could you do more streams? I need my mind changed on something. King Wilson says, unseat the anti-pope. Shots fired. Shots fired. Okay, now that we're going to wrap up, now that we're wrapping up this stream officially, I would just like to say a few things. One is that if anyone has any more questions about 12 Angry Men or the series that was made on 12 Angry Men, now's the chance to ask them. That was going to be these streams never do stay focused, but this one was pretty good on staying focused on the primary topic, which was the 12 Angry Men series. And I'm so friggin' happy. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed that series and how it turned out. And I hope that for any of you who are subscribed to the channel and were unimpressed or worried about the future of the channel after a lot of the stuff that was uploaded last year, I hope that that series has put you all back at ease. And that someone's asking if my favorite juror is number 8. Yeah, funny enough, that was one of the first questions asked in the stream. Yeah, it seems like a cop-out to say number 8's the favorite, but either number 8 or number 4. One more time, I'm very, very, very happy that you guys enjoyed the way that the 12 Angry Men series turned out. I, for one, had a lot of, I found it very rewarding making it. So it just makes me deeply, deeply, deeply happy that you guys enjoyed it. So if you have any more questions about about that series, you can ask them now. Here's a question from Anonymous Man. Someone asked, what other series you'd recommend? What series I would recommend? I don't. What do you mean? You mean what movie would I recommend? A movie that has good argumentation in it? I don't know. I'll recommend another Sidney Lumet film. You ever seen Network? That's a good movie. Bogey winner something gave some money and didn't say anything, so I'll just say hi to you. Rowan said Bump. Similar movies to 12 Angry Men? There you go, Rowan. Here's an example of someone taking a comment in the plebeian chat and putting it in the super chat. Similar movies to 12 Angry Men. You know, I really don't want to cop out at answering that question, but it's really hard. It's really hard not to cop out. 12 Angry Men is a unique film. It is an unprecedentedly special film. Virtually the entire thing takes place in one room between 12 characters. It's really difficult to think of a movie that is special because there's really no other movie that has the same structure as 12 Angry Men. The closest, you would think that the closest thing to 12 Angry Men, a cinematic sibling or cousin to 12 Angry Men, would be any other movie that's in the courtroom drama. That's in the courtroom drama subgenre. But the catch there is that a lot of other courtroom dramas do not take place. They take place in the courtroom. They don't focus on the jury. They show the trial itself. 12 Angry Men does not show the trial. It's entirely focused on the jury. So it doesn't seem fair to recommend other courtroom dramas because they just don't feel like the way 12 Angry Men does. So it's really difficult to recommend. That's a terrific question, but it's really difficult to recommend another movie that's similar to it. I know it might not be what you want to hear, but I don't think there is a film that's quite like 12 Angry Men. If you like it, you're kind of stuck with it. Unless, and I'm looking at the chat right now, is there anyone else who can name a movie that's similar to 12 Angry Men? Where it's just a collection of characters who are arguing. It's a deeply unusual film. It simply is. 13 upset women. Terminator 2. I don't think To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah. Although To Kill a Mockingbird is not, well, not only does that not focus on a jury or depict the jury deliberating, a lot of To Kill a Mockingbird doesn't even take place in a courtroom, but it is another courtroom drama. so you can give it that. Here's a film that somebody mentioned, Anatomy of a Murder, 1959. Beneath a Marble Sky. I heard The Hateful Eight also takes place in one room, but the theme is quite different. Yeah, The Hateful Eight does take place mostly in one location, but it doesn't contain a lot of arguments. 12 hysterical women. Death Note, perhaps. Man from Earth, Anatomy of a Murder. You could say, to cite another Tarantino film that takes place mostly in one location, Reservoir Dogs has a lot of good dialogue that relates to arguing. Again, they don't need to arrive at a consensus, of course. A movie called Death Notes. Some people are recommending that. King Wilson, you're still here. King Wilson says, do you believe, to wrap up that previous question, it's really, really, really difficult to cite another film that's similar to 12 Angry Men. It's a unique film. It's an unusual film. It's a film that could easily have turned out terrible if the cast was wrong or if the director was wrong. It's just a very, very, very special film, and it's virtually impossible to find one that's quite like it. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. It's a special film. King Wilson says, do you believe the so-called oh crap, I've never seen that word before. Canonical variant of 12 Angry Men, where the boy is actually guilty? Is it good or is it bad? Thoughts? I think it takes away, he goes on to say, I think it takes away from the purity of the psychology of the argument. Yeah, I don't really have much to say. Anybody who, the question of whether or not the boy was actually guilty is supposed to be beside the point. That is beside the point of the narrative, of the story, and of the and of what takes place between the characters. I don't know if it's... Oh, King Wilson says, I'm riding this to the end. Okay. It won't be much longer, King Wilson. Your king is still with you, plebs. Obviously, the question of whether or not the boy is guilty is not irrelevant. Obviously, because the damn plot had to do with whether or not he should be found guilty or not. But anyone who watches 12 Angry Men and walks away from it wondering if the boy is guilty or not, in my opinion, that is missing the point. And if I was asked to demonstrate why that's missing the point, I would just simply explain what the role of the jury is. It's really not the jury's place to decide it's not the jury's responsibility to necessarily decide whether they feel like someone ought to be punished. Their role is to determine whether or not the facts, the evidence that was presented, the testimony that was provided is reliable. That's the role of the jury. Was a convincing case made as to the guilt of the accused? Is there or is there not a reasonable doubt? And in the case of 12 Angry Men, a reasonable doubt was established. So the boy might be guilty. But that really ought to be beside the point. And I think most people do understand that. I feel like I'm just stating the obvious. Let's see. One more. Rowan says, Rowan is bumping up another question from the plebeian chat. A topic you've radically changed your mind on? Good question. What's a topic? We'll wrap up with this unless someone else says something else in the super chat before I finish the answer. One topic that I've radically changed my mind on. That's a really good question. And I don't want to get too personal. God, I'm sorry for drawing a blank. I really want to give a good answer to that question. Well, I guess I've okay, here's something. I guess I've radically changed my mind on what we should expect from people who are elected. I'm speaking on behalf of Americans. I used to think that when someone was elected, let's just say in the case of the presidency, when someone was elected president or when anyone is elected to anything, I used to think that the what they were supposed to do after being elected was to... is that a good example? I don't know. I used to think that when someone was elected into a position of power, that once they were given the power, they could just do whatever they wanted with it. They were, for a certain period of time, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, if someone was elected, they were basically given power to do whatever they jolly well pleased with it. And that's what I thought when I was, I guess, a teenager. And when I grew up, I realized that not only is the idea to represent people, but it's also to give away things that you might want. We call, another word for that would be compromise. Would be to settle for a less than ideal piece of legislation. I hope that satisfied. That was a question that was so good, I knew I couldn't come up with a good answer. I hope you're satisfied with that one. I guess I'm kind of embarrassed to talk about something I radically changed my mind on, because if I run the risk of embarrassing myself, of claiming that I was way, 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 way off the mark on a particular issue. Okay, let's try to conclude this somehow. Some way, somehow. Anonymous man is bumping up a comment from someone by the name of Brandon Barmett. How did you come up with your YouTube name? Brandon, that's a terrific question. You want to know the answer to that question? The reason why I called the channel Counter Arguments is because, okay, there are two reasons. They go together. One was because I didn't feel like coming up with a name. That's the first half of the answer. And the second half is because I didn't think I'd ever have an audience. So the shortest version of the answer to that question is laziness. I didn't know this would end up like this. I just thought, hey, I want to make a channel in which I make videos that challenge arguments, and I don't really give a shit what it's called. So I just called it Counter Arguments. And here we are. It turned out, who knew? I'm saying to my younger self, who knew there was a market on YouTube for arguing? Who knew? That's a terrific question, Brandon. And thank you to Anonymous Man, literally, that's his name, for bumping that question up. King Wilson is bumping up a question from Moggy Boggy. Moggy Boggy, thank you, King Wilson. Moggy Boggy says, we must establish a religion. I say counter-argumentation. I didn't say that correctly. Moggy Boggy thinks we should establish a religion about countering arguments. All hail counter-argumentate. Oh, counter-argumentate. Why am I having such a hard time saying that? Counter-argumentatism. Counter-argumentatism. I'm gonna stop trying. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Moggy Boggy. Thank you very, very much for that. For proposal. Although the United States Constitution wouldn't allow it, I do still appreciate the proposition. Thank you very much. And thank you, King Wilson, for bumping that. I'm going to keep trying to wrap this up, but these are good questions. Just keep being asked. King Wilson, you forgot the R. Counter-argumentarianism. There you go. Counter-argumentarianism. What a mouthful. What a mouthful. That's not a bad idea at all. Okay, the super chat is clear. Currently, if someone's asking if I'm religious, which is a personal question. Why exactly did you start your channel? Asks Moritz. Very simple. I enjoy arguing. I enjoy countering argument. I enjoy everything that I do with the channel. I don't know if that sounds like a cop-out of an answer, but that's the answer to the question. I just enjoy arguing. I like politics. I like keeping up with the news. I like writing. I like video editing. All the things that are required to manage a channel like this, I just inherently like doing. Here's someone asking what I think about hashtag KickVic. I don't know what that is. Thank you for the $2, but I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. Ravi asks to say, oh boy. Okay, this is good. Unless someone else in the super chat beats me to it, I'm going to make this the last question I respond to. Say anti-disestablishmentarianism. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Woohoo! I did it. Or at least I think I did it. I'm pretty sure I did it. Even if I didn't, it was certainly a lot of fun trying. Okay, guys, thank you very, very much. This is the conclusion. Thank you for subscribing. It's time for the thank yous now. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you if you watched the 12 Angry Men series. I'm very deeply, deeply happy and relieved that you liked it, if you liked it. Someone is saying they hope to see more streams in the near future. There will be streams. This is not the first. It will not be the last. I don't know if they're going to be scheduled. Maybe they should be, because it would mean more people showed up. But I really like the idea of just doing them spontaneously. King Wilson, this stream is a country, CA. You are our God, and our religion is counter-argumentarianisms. You put an S at the end of that. I don't know if you meant to do that. Counter-argumentarianisms. All hail King Wilson. A high five to each and every one of the plebs. Of course, thank you to everyone who said anything in the super chat. An extra special thank you to anyone who used the super chat to boost something that was said in the plebeian chat. I really hope that sticks. Plebeian chat. I apologize for my throat being so scratchy. One more drink of water. And though I don't know when the current projects that are being produced will be completed, and I don't know when the next stream will be, some new counter arguments will be uploaded soon. The next stream will happen soon. I'm gonna keep this channel warm and keep it active as much as I possibly can, because I love what I do, and I'm so happy that you guys enjoyed as well. You have a sexy voice, mate. Thank you, Joel. Thank you all very much. Have a very wonderful day, night, evening, whatever time of day it might be for you. Take care of yourselves and take care of anyone around you. Godspeed.